find a seat, please. We're going to get started.
Workshops for everyone to attend. I hope you all got a good night's rest because we'll be dancing away the night at the dance later. Everyone get excited!
But first we'd like to start the day off with Tech Team's newscast.
We would now like to welcome them to the stage to share their work.
No.
Or they're just gonna play it.
Good morning, and welcome to the California State Leadership Conference newscast. I'm your host, Liam.
And I'm Duncan, your other host this morning. We have a few top stories brought to you by some of the finest reporters in the state. And Liam. Today, we'll be checking out tours, a special interview with the 4-H alumni, and then the trick or treat.
First, some footage from today's tours.
Oh yeah, this tour, it showcases a bunch of bees and their environments. It's very informative and it's kind of fun too. You get these little bee catcher tools and you can catch bees and observe them.
We walked around and tried to catch bees and we go back to
They have over 4,000 monkeys at the Primate Research Center, and they treat them very well. There's about two-thirds of them in open areas, and about the rest are enclosed areas so they can do research.
I think one of my favorite parts was the garage because I mean it had all these like gas pumps on the side and they're pretty old. But then like on top of the garage door, there were all these cool little metal cars. The most interesting thing about the tour was probably actually his name wasn't Reef, but the guy himself. Now that I think about it, I wonder why they called it Reef's Garage. I don't know. But anyway, super cool. The guy gave him the tour. Just the way he talked about everything. I mean, really cool guy.
That looked like a ton of fun. I really enjoyed the honeybee tour. It was beautiful. Now we'll be heading over to Olivia from the Texas Technology team for a special interview from a 4-H alumni.
Hi, I'm here with Sandy Statham today. I just have a couple questions for you. How long have you been a part of SLC?
I've been coming to SLC for probably about 20 years. I came first as a chaperone with delegates from my county, and now I've been on staff for several years.
And what are your roles today?
My current role is the Dean of Enrollment.
Awesome. And what is your favorite memory from SLC?
My favorite memories have to do with the people I meet. I always get so many great people and friendships that have developed from coming to State Leadership Conference, and those friendships carry on.
Awesome. And the last thing is, what do you want to see in the future for SLC?
I think my goal for the future is I'd love to see just all kinds of kids coming. State Leadership Conference can hold like 600 kids, and so there's just so many great opportunities. I want the word to get out that they should bring more, come. It's a great experience.
Thanks, Olivia, and thank you to Sandy for sharing her story with us. Now we're off to the southern part of campus for the chicken shade.
Orange County gave me flowers to plant when I get home.
Want to go off the trick or treat a little bit?
So much candy. This is how much candy we got at the trick or treat.
That was great. I really liked all the unique things you brought to the chicken
today. And thank you to all the delegates who attended the tours and the great reporters today. And Liam. Tune in tomorrow for the next episode of SLC News.
Thank you.
And have a nice day.
Thank you, tech team, for all your hard work. That was amazing.
Now we'd like to introduce our speaker, Houston Kraft. Houston Kraft has spoken at over 500 schools and events all over the country. He knows you probably don't really care about his credentials or his biography, but he said that he wants you to know a few things anyways. Number 1, he's a self-certified, self-proclaimed professional hugger. Number 2, he is moderately good at ping pong and very good at laser tag. In fact, he was invited to play on the junior varsity national laser tag team. 3, his spirit animal is an otter. His spirit food is carrot cake. 4, he is a speaker and kindness advocate. Please join me in welcoming Houston Kraft.
Hi. Hi. How you doing? Liam, that was some reporting. That was very good. And that impromptu dance party, is that? That was dance class. Oh yeah, I could use one of those. Hey, I'm so excited to be here. This one seems like it's gone well so far. Ice cream social, trinket trade, success. Good. 6 years ago, I was sitting on an airplane in the middle seat. I call the middle seat the hot dog seat because people's buns are on either side of me. And I don't particularly like the hot dog seat. I was kind of smushed in the middle. And on this particular day, I was really tired. I just wanted to take a nap. I was listening to some music, and all of a sudden, this woman shows up, and she doesn't even ask me to stand up. She just kind of like squeezes past me. And she has a seat next to the window, and you can tell that this woman has like way more energy than I do. You know, she's like looking out the window and like pulling things out of her bag, and out the corner of my eye, I keep seeing this woman go like this. You can tell she wants to have a conversation. I do not. I'm tired, I just want to take a nap and listen to some music. All of a sudden I get a tap on my shoulder, I take out my headphone, I say, yeah, you need something? She goes, hi, I'm Helga. I said, fantastic. We have a 4-hour plane ride, and I'm trapped. Helga. And this woman starts asking me question after question after question. At some point, I don't know what brought it up, but she was like, Houston, I used to work in a high school. What was your favorite part? What did you love about high school? And I said, probably my senior year. She said, why? I said, well, and this is true. My senior year, some friends and I got together and we started this club at my school called RAKE, Random Acts of Kindness, etc. She said, what was that about? I said, well, once a week, we would get together in the morning while school was getting started, and we would talk about kindness. We would talk about why it was important, we talked about why it was hard, we talked about why the world needed more of it, and then the most important part of RAKE Club was after we were done talking about it, we went out and we actually practiced. We went out and tried to do kindness at our school, which sounds kind of weird because we talk about being kind people, but sometimes it's hard to think about what kindness looks like in action. So we were just trying to practice, and we only made 2 rules. Mainly because we wanted it to be accessible for anyone in our community or on our campus to be involved. Rule number 1 was just walk out of the room and meet someone new. Meet someone at your school that you've never talked to before. Hi. I'm Houston. Nice to meet you, Natalie. I like your shirt today. Welcome. It's multicolored and reminds me of a peacock. Peacocks are classy and sassy. It seems like you're both of those things. Okay, bye. A lot of times we were really awkward. We weren't very good at kindness. That's why we were practicing. You're like, yes, you need some more. Rule number one was just meet someone new. Rule number 2, leave the person better than you found. Right? There's infinite ways that you can do that, but that was what we talked about each morning. We're like, okay, how can we leave people better than we found them? So rule number 1, meet someone new. Rule number 2, try to leave the person better than you found them. I'm telling Helga this story. I look over, she's crying. She goes, Houston, that is so important. I said, yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We met a lot of really cool people. We had a lot of awkward interactions. She looks at me, she goes, Houston, no, you don't understand how important that is to me. I said, well, you're probably going to tell me. Knowing you, Helga. Sure enough, she launches into a story about how the last time she was on an airplane was 3 years before her and I ever met. And I guess the only reason she was on that airplane was because early in the morning she'd gotten a phone call from her dad's doctor. Helga lives in Seattle, Washington. Her dad, Phoenix, Arizona. She goes, Houston, I woke up to this phone call from my dad's doctor saying, Helga, I don't know where you're at right now, but the sooner you can get down to Arizona, the better. We're taking your dad to the hospital. We're not exactly sure what's going wrong, but he's not doing very well, and I'm sure he'd love to see you. She goes, Houston, I didn't even pack a bag. I just sped to the airport. I bought a ticket for that night. I had to wait in the airport 5 hours until finally I could get on a plane. Houston, I walk on the plane. I sit down. I'm so nervous. I take out my phone to turn it on to airplane mode, and right before I'm about to turn my phone off, I get a phone call from my dad's doctor explaining that my dad had passed away. Houston, I'm on my way to go see my dad when I learned that I'd lost him. I had to sit next to strangers, she said, for 3 hours after getting some of the worst news of my life. She said, I didn't even cry. I was in shock. I hadn't even processed the news yet until finally we land in Arizona. I get off the plane and I realize I'm not ready to go see my dad yet. So instead, I walk up to the nearest wall and I just fall down. I put my head in my hands and I cry. And Helga's got a good sense of humor. She goes, Houston, I am not a pretty crier. I'm not a quiet crier. I sound like Chewbacca's choking on something. It's loud and it's aggressive. She goes, Houston, 2 hours. I sat in that airport crying. You want to know why what you're talking about is so important to me, kindness? 2 hours I sat there crying, and if I had to guess, probably like 3,000 people were in that airport around me, right? Going to their planes, getting off their planes, going in and out of the store, right next to where I sat. Houston, 2 hours, 3,000 people. And not one. Not a single person stopped. Not one person put their hand on my shoulder and said, hey, I know we don't know each other, but is there anything I can do? Not one person got down on my level and said, hey, are you okay? Just in 2 hours, 3,000 people, not one. I'm super grateful that you are here today. I'm super grateful just that you would intentionally involve yourself in leadership. Because I think about leadership, I don't want to overcomplicate leadership. I think leadership is just about making the world better in some capacity. And we all have like our role to play in that, right? We all do that in a lot of different ways, but I think it is like the intentionality of saying, I think things can be better. Right? I hope so. I don't know if you've looked around sometimes at your school or your community or our country or this world and thought to yourself, man, we could do better. Because if you've ever thought that, I don't think you're alone, but I think the difference is, I think people who think of themselves or intentionally involve themselves in something like leadership, like, we make it our responsibility to actually make it better. And I think it requires work. Which is maybe why some people avoid it, but like, this is work. It's hard work to make the world a better place. So I'm grateful you're here, because I think we got work to do. It's good work, but it's work. So let's do a little work right now, shall we? Go ahead, here's what's gonna happen. To the best of our ability, I know we got kind of like weird row numbers here, but we'll start just like this. I'll have you stand up, but you're gonna, row 1, just kind of turn and face row 2, row 3, turn and face row 4, so every other row is turning to face each other. And if you turn around and you don't have a partner, just raise your hand and find someone else who has their hand raised in the room. Everyone you see is a partner. So if you turn around and you do not have a partner, fantastic. Found him. Anyone else missing a partner? Yeah, ideally someone you don't know. If your hand is raised, make your way out into the aisle and find someone else who has their hand raised. I see someone who has their hand raised in the back. You too? Oh, there you go. Sunmatch.com. Find your person. Put that hand up high. Find someone else who has their hand raised if you're still looking for someone. My friend, right there, I see someone. Right there, I see someone over here. It's a long distance relationship, but let's make it happen. You might need to move out. One of you two is going to have to go to each other. We good? Anyone else missing a partner? Cut once. Cut twice. Anyone else missing a partner or in a group of 3? Oh, great. I got my friend Lauren right here who's going to hop in. Fantastic. Anyone else? Anyone else missing a partner or in a group of 3? Oh, we got someone right back there. See that hand in the back there? And we got one more. Did we find a match? We still missing? We're good. Okay. Fantastic. Hey, with this person of yours, you have 3 options. Option number 1 is called front to front. Whenever I say front to front, shoulders facing your partner's shoulders, a little bit away from each other, smiling and waving awkwardly. That's front to front. Option number 2 is called side to side. Whenever I say side to side, turn, link arms, and make sure your heads are facing me. Just your heads, your whole bodies don't have to, but side to side, arms linked, heads facing me. Perfect. It's the mama pose. Yeah, that's good. They're all good sets. Hey, final option of the 3, back to back. Unlink arms back against your partner's back. You might have to do a little over the chair lean. Back to back. Back to back. And I know our morning is just beginning. So go ahead and give your partner a little shoulder blade massage. Just kind of work it out for a second. Just get out those knots. Quick practice. Front to front. Front to front. Side to side. Back to back. Now I want you to picture this position, the back-to-back position, as a very zen posture. Even if it's requiring some leaning. So when you're here, to the best of your ability, take your hands out of your pockets if they are, put them down by your side, shoulders down and back. Deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. In just a moment here, I'm going to have you do something intentionally uncomfortable. Number one, because I think only by doing intentionally uncomfortable things do we actually grow out of our comfort zones. And number 2, because I get sick pleasure out of it. So what we're going to do is when I say go, you're going to go front to front with that partner of yours. No waving or anything like that. But this time, for 1 minute, no words, just eye contact. I know it sounds weird. 1 minute, just looking at the person across from you. Deep into your nose, out through your mouth. Front to front. That's a minute. Side to side. guys up here, raise your hand if at some point over the course of that minute you were thinking about something totally unrelated to the person across from you. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if at some point over the course of that minute you were worried about what your partner was thinking about you. Raise your hand if at some point over the course of that minute you're like, this is a long minute, I'm uncomfortable. Raise your hand if at some point you heard someone laugh and you're like, oh thank goodness, that means I can laugh now too. Raise your hand if at some point you're like, do I look at their left eye or their right eye? Or like, how do I look at the person? I know that you don't know, many of you probably don't know much about the person that you're currently partnered with, but I don't think you need to know much about a person to offer them kindness. So I want to put up thing up on the board here, and you're just going to fill in the blanks to give your partner a compliment. This first one is like a 5-pound weight, pretty low level, simple compliment, right? And it's going to be, I really like your blank article. Chaos. Okay. Here we go. Here it is. I really like your blank article of clothing. It reminds me of blank type of animal because reason. Ready? Go. Snap twice. Look at your partner and say, stop it. Back to back to that partner of yours. Here we go. When I say go, you're gonna have a little competition with this person. The competition is this. When I say go, you're gonna go front to front and you're gonna see who can smile in slower motion. Slow motion smile, front to front, ready, go. Compliment. Here it is. Your smile looks like blank something bright. It lights up the entire blank type of space. When you grin, I verb. Ready? Go. Look at me with your cheesiest smile. Yeah, not your creepiest smile. Look at your partner and say, I'll miss you. And have a seat. Remember where your partner is. Remember where you were. You're going to come back to them in a little while. You know, leadership has a lot of definitions. Probably my favorite definition of leadership is by a guy named James Hunter. He wrote a book called The Servant. And James Hunter defines leadership as the willingness to meet people's legitimate needs. Leadership is meeting people's legitimate needs. And I like that definition because it causes me to ask a question, which is, what do people need? And I think there's like a lot of different ways that you can answer that question, but the more that I think about it, the more that it comes back to this idea that I think fundamentally, you know, when you take aside, the physiological needs, shelter, food, water. I think the very next thing that people need is belonging, hope, acceptance. Or maybe the simplest word to use would be this. Love. This is a good word, isn't it? It's kind of a weird word, though, because how many of you would agree that love is important in our lives? Like, pretty foundationally, right? Fundamentally, it's kind of important. And it's weird to me because we all agree on that. And one of my favorite quotes is that our deepest need is to feel loved, and our highest purpose is to give love. I think that's really true. Like, just, part of the purpose of our life has a lot to do with the relationships in it. And you think about almost any relationship, and the foundation of that relationship is loving other people. Love is important in all of our lives. What's weird to me is we all agree on that, but we don't all agree on what that word is. I asked this question to people all over the country. Love is blank. High schoolers think they're really smart. They're like, love is sacrifice. Love is beautiful. Middle schoolers tend to be way more honest. They're like, love is food. Love is Beyonce. It's just like, I was working with a group of adults in Washington State. Guy in the back row next to his wife raises his hand. He's like, love is expensive. His wife was like, shut you, what's wrong with you? But it's true, it's weird. It's weird that we all agree that this is an important thing. What's weirder to me is that we don't all agree on what it is. And I think the biggest reason is this. I think we all have definitions of love in our own brain because love is one of those words that we define very personally. Yeah? And I think part of the reason we define it personally is because our definition of it is built with it's built on the context with which we grew up with it. Our definition of love is built by our experience with love in our life. And because you and I probably have had different experiences, we think about this word in a different way. To me, that's confusing. It's not the only reason it's confusing. I think we get told what this word is in a lot of different confusing, sometimes conflicting ways. In fact, I made a video to prove the point. If you know the words, feel free to sing along.
What is love? Love is a many splendid thing, love. Lift us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Please don't stop that again.
All you need is love. All you need is love.
Describes love in a different way. To me, that's confusing. From the time we're like little kids, we listen to this music, we watch movies, we read books and magazines, and all of them talk about love in different, confusing, sometimes even conflicting ways. To me, that makes it, from the time we're little kids, it makes the idea of love confusing in our life. Not the only reason. I think maybe the biggest reason why love is confusing, particularly in our culture, is I think we overuse the word. Simple example, I got married 3 years ago.
We're not divorced now.
I'm just kidding. We're not No, we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary like a week and a half ago. Her name's Harley. She's amazing. You'd like her a lot. I wish she was here hanging with us. But I'll never forget a week after Harley and I got married, we were sitting on the couch. I walked over and I sat down next to her with a bowl of my favorite kind of ice cream. It's called Tillamook Mudslide. Some people's lives have been changed. Chocolate ice cream, chocolate swirls. I put whipped cream on top. I sat down and took a bite. And I was like, I love this ice cream. And it's true. Without even thinking about it, though, 10 seconds later, I look over at my brand new wife, and I'm like, I love you, Harley. I'll never forget. She turns to me. She goes, I wish we had a better word. I was like, what? She was like, well, just a week ago, we committed the rest of our lives to each other. And yet the high form of expression between two, even married people is like, I love you. But Houston, you just use that word love to describe your ice cream. She's like, I know you don't mean the same thing. And I was like, well, really good ice cream. But it's serious. No, when you think about the spectrum, the range with which we use that word love. On one end of the spectrum, we use it to say, I feel very strongly towards this dairy product. I love this ice cream. Other end of the spectrum, we use it to say, hey, I'm committed to spending the rest of my life getting better at understanding you and caring for you. I love you. Same word, really different meanings. To me, that's confusing, and here's my issue with it. I think it is really hard to get better at things in our life that we don't have clarity on. I think it's really hard to improve at things when we don't get specific at what we're trying to get better at. And love is one of those things where we just kind of assume that we're going to improve at it. But how are you going to get better at something when we don't take time to really understand it? Maybe you have in your own way, but I think personally, specifically with leadership, with the idea of being leaders in this world, I think we need to spend time clarifying what love looks like, or else it's going to be hard to get better at it. It's hard to get better at things you're confused about. Simple example, I was at the gym recently, don't go there very often. I walk in, and some of these machines are very complicated now.
Yes.
Yeah. And I use the pictures on the side, just you tell me what part of the body I'm about to work out. And I walk up to the side of this one machine, and there's an outline of a guy, his abs are shaded in red. I'm like, I want red abs, let's do this. So I sit down, it's a little bench-like structure, high back, 2 straps that go over your shoulders. I put in the right amount of weight I think I might be able to lift, and I'm like, okay, so probably just... Nothing happens. Literally the weights aren't even moving. I'm like, that's weird, maybe I'm doing it wrong. This doesn't feel right. I want to be really clear. I'm not alone in the gym. People are watching me do this. Finally, I'm so embarrassed that I obviously don't know what I'm doing. I get up and I'm like, not ab day anyways. Did I get any stronger? No. Is the machine capable of making me stronger? Yes. No, but you're hopeless. Absolutely it is, if I understand how to use it. I think the same thing is absolutely true about this. Unless we take time to understand how we're getting better at love in our lives, I think we're just going to stay as good at that as we are right now. And for me, what has always provided clarity for me in my life is good words. The right word for the right situation, you know what I mean? There's a new word that just entered into the dictionary, it's pizzled. Pizzled, it's a combination of puzzled and pissed off. Isn't that a good word? And the example they use is when someone takes their phone out while you're talking to them, you get pizzled. Oh, come on, right? It's a great word. I love great words, and for me, love is so overused in the English language. I like the Greeks. The Greeks use 4 words for love, and provide a little bit more clarity around what love could look like. For example, the first word that they use is storge. Storge love is the love that we feel towards our family. Natural feeling of affection. Simplest example I could give you of this would be, you spent 9 months in the womb room. And when you really think about it, it was a deluxe hotel suite. So, I don't know how often you reflect on your time in the womb. I don't know how far you go back on your throwback Thursdays. But when you really think about it, the womb was a magical place. It was the perfect temperature every day, not this 170 degrees outside. But 9 months, you're like, this is cozy. You had all the food you could eat. You didn't have to use your mouth. It was just right to your belly. You're like, Cheetos, please. And it's like, bleh. And the best part about it was the womb was the last time in your life where you had 0 responsibilities. No chores, no homework, no stress, no drama, no relationships to manage, no social media to keep up with, no snap face, no Insta tweet, nothing to concern yourself with. Just kicking back every day watching Netflix marathons. Meanwhile, pregnancy for your mom, not so easy, right? Every couple of weeks she's buying new pants because you're becoming a human being inside of her. Sometimes it's like, in the middle of the night she's craving weird food. She's like, someone give me a banana. You're like, Mom, it's midnight. She's like, with mustard on it. You're like, she's like, now. 9 months. 9 months you put up this uncomfortable thing just to host you, and finally after 9 months, you're born. You would think that after 9 months you'd look up at your mom and you'd be like, thank you so much. You have 5 stars on Yelp. You were really fantastic. No, what do you say instead? It's a range of babies in here. Everything from the normal wag to that's an angry baby. But yeah, you come out of the womb and he's like, you just yell in her face. You're such an ungrateful little turd when we're first born. But immediately your mom looks down at you and goes, oh my gosh, I love you. Right? Automatic sense of, she doesn't even know you yet. Just nothing about you. You can have nothing in common. But automatically, sense of, and if there's other family in the waiting room, they come running in as soon as they're allowed, right? They come running in. Oh, you're beautiful. And you're not. You look like a potato. You're purple, you're slot. You ugly when you're first born. For sure, all of us were ugly when we were. But they don't see any of that. Family comes in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's my niece. It's my nephew, it's my son, my daughter, my grandson, whatever it is, it's all about the relationship they have in your family, and it's a natural sense of affection. Automatically, they have affection for you, storge love. Second kind of love that the Greeks described was philia. Philia love is the love that we have for our friends, and it's based on commonality. You know, I work in a lot of schools. I work in like high schools and middle schools and colleges all over the country. And sometimes I go on and I work with different types of leadership groups on campus. And one of like the big things that they desire is like, we want to get rid of cliques. And I'm like, yeah, not going to happen. It's not, right? Because cliques are it's human nature to gravitate towards people that you have something in common with. Now, if one group over here is exclusionary or hurtful towards another group over here, like, that's a problem. And that's an issue in empathy. That's an issue in understanding. That's an issue in kindness. But the idea that people sit with each other because they have things in common with those people is like totally natural. Right? Can you imagine going to sit at a table and be like, oh my gosh, have you seen Moana? And they're like, yeah, it's stupid, I hate it. You're like, yeah, okay. Guess I'll just shut up then. And it'd be weird, it's uncomfortable. You probably try to talk to someone that you have very little in common with, yeah? It can be uncomfortable, right? Philia love is the love that we have for people when we have a lot in common with them, or we discover over time that we have commonalities with them. And sometimes it's not always surface level, sometimes it's much deeper, and I really believe this. I think the more that we grow to understand a person, the more naturally, A, we realize that we have things in common with them, and B, the more we grow to care about them. I'll say it again. The more we grow to understand a person, I think the more naturally we grow to care for them. That's what philia love is. I love you because I get you, because I understand you, because I see you in all your messiness and all your imperfection, and I like you anyways. Storge, family, philia, friends. Third kind of love that the Greeks talk about, eros. Eros is romantic love. You know when your crush walks into the room and everything changes, right? Like normal people walk in, you're like, hey, good morning. Your crush walks in, you're like, hi. I seem to have fallen for you. It never works. Like, you get really awkward. You're like, your pores look clean today. You just start saying like, stop it already. But eros love is that love that we feel towards people like that we're attracted to, physically or emotionally. Eros is romantic love, different than friendship love, different than family love, hopefully. But in the English language, we use the same word. It's confusing. Right, in the same day, I call my mom and say I love you, and I talk to my wife and I say I love you. Different kind of love, right? Hopefully. But in the English language, it's confusing. That's why I like the Greeks. They use different words to talk about different kinds of love. The last word, and the reason I'm telling you all this in the first place, is agape. Say it with me. Agape. Well, let's say it like a fun way, like agape. Agape. Now, agape love is unconditional love. It's selfless love. It is love based on a choice. Now, the Greeks aren't the only people in the world that talk about this type of love, right? In the Greek language, agape, in Sanskrit, mudita. Mudita is part of the Buddhist philosophy, and it's one of their 4 paths to enlightenment. It means vicarious joy. It means finding happiness in other people's happiness. I am happy because you are joyful. Another Sanskrit word, but in a different religion, ahimsa. Ahimsa is nonviolence, compassion in heart and mind. It's part of the Jainism, one of the oldest religions in the world. This is one of their 3 pillars of belief. They believe in compassion towards yourself and others. In Hebrew, in the Jewish faith, hesed. Hesed is loyal kindness. Love is more of a choice and less of a feeling. I like these words because they remind me to find clarity. When you really start to look at these, just like 4 different words, you start to realize that the first 3 all deal with the way that we feel. And you start to really think about that, like almost the majority of the ways that you and I think about, talk about, or experience love in our life is feelings-based. Agape is the only one of the 4 that's not a feeling but a choice. Why is that important? Well, if I only go to the gym when I feel like it, how often do I show up? Never. I don't. But you start to really think about that and you realize this is how most of the world operates. Most people treat love as a feeling. I will be kind to you if it's convenient for me. I'll be kind to you if it's comfortable. I'll be patient with you as long as it's not annoying. As long as you're not annoying. I'll respect you if you've earned my respect. I'll respect you if we agree. I'll respect you if we have the same political opinion. I'll forgive you if you say sorry first. I'll have compassion for you if I already care about you. I'll have empathy for you if I already understand you. I'll stand up for you as long as by standing up for you, it doesn't mean that I'm going to get laughed at next. I'll stand up for your rights as long as by giving you more rights doesn't take any away from me. I'll love you as long as it's comfortable, easy, convenient, as long as I feel like it. If I only go to the gym when I feel like it, how often do I show up? Not very often. My friend Tyler, he's my speaking mentor. He's an amazing speaker. He's been speaking for 25 years all across the country. And probably my favorite thing that my friend Tyler Derman says, he says, a commitment to growth is a commitment to pain. A commitment to growth in our life is a commitment to pain. Meaning anytime we want to get better at anything, it requires us to do something challenging, hard, or uncomfortable. And if we're not willing to do something painful or challenging or hard or uncomfortable, we're probably not going to really get better at that thing. And the question, it calls into the question, do we actually believe or care about that thing? Many of us, myself often included, wait until the point of maximum pain until I start to make a change. I don't think we have time for that with love. I think we need to start practicing being better now. And I think that the only way that you and I grow in our capacity for compassion for other people is to be compassionate when we least feel like it. To be kind when it is wildly uncomfortable. To give when we feel like we don't have much to give. To have empathy for people that are very different than us. To reach out to people when we don't have the time. I think the only way that we get better at love, if we really believe that we have a job to do as leaders to make the world a better place. I think the only way that we get better at our job of loving people is to love when it's inconvenient. To love when we don't feel like it. I'll never forget, I was sitting in the audience. I'd been elected student body president at my high school. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a big difference. And I was sitting in this summer camp, kind of a lot like what you're doing here. And on day 3, they started talking about leadership. And I thought they were going to talk about leadership in my position and how to plan great events and that sort of thing. And by day 3, they started talking about that leadership was service. That leadership was about serving people, and that leadership was about loving people. And the guy started talking on stage, and he got to agape, and I'll never forget, he said, agape love means this: just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you can't love them. I'll say it again because it changed my life. Because agape love means just because you don't like a person doesn't mean you're not capable of loving them. And he looked at the room of 300 of us, and he said, in fact, that's your job. So how are you going to do it? And everything changed. I knew I wanted to go back to my school, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to my school, and I wanted to agape people. I wanted to love on people. I wanted to make people feel accepted. I wanted to make people feel hopeful. I wanted to make people feel loved at my school. And so on day 1, I was so pumped. I was like, all right, I'm going to agape people. How do I agape people? I come back to that question all the time, right? I know that love is important, but what is it? How do I give it to people? So I went to work that year. All I knew is this. I knew that love was important, but I didn't know how to do it, so I defaulted to this. I wanted to make a big difference. I thought if I'm going to make a big difference, if I'm going to make a splash, I'm going to have to do some big things. So I put on some big events. I put on these massive recognition assemblies with strobe lights and fog machines. We raised thousands of dollars for charities all over the world. I put glitter on everything that I did. And I thought in order to make a big difference in my school, I had to do all these big things. 3 years ago, I got to go back and speak at my old high school, Snohomish High School up in Snohomish, Washington. 2,000 kids in the gym. After it was over, a group of kids came down. I was giving high fives and handshakes and hugs, and I noticed there was this girl off to the side, away from everyone else. And I noticed her because she was alone, her head was down, she was rubbing her hands back and forth, she was really nervous. She looked really nervous. I talked to this group of people over here until finally the last person walked out the door, and it's just me and this girl left alone in the gym. And she notices, she walks over, and she goes, hi, I'm Annie. I said, Annie, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for hanging out for so long. Did you enjoy the assembly? She goes, mm-hmm. She started to cry, and I'm not talking little gentle, polite tears. I'm talking projectile, like Chewbacca choking or something. She's like, I didn't want any guy in the situation to do it. I was like, shh, it's okay, Chewbacca. I couldn't get her to stop until finally I was like, Annie, what's wrong? A switch. I was like, what's wrong? She goes, nothing's wrong. I'm like, okay, that's weird. She's like, no, Houston, it's not that I'm sad about anything. I'm just really nervous to talk to you. I'm really excited to talk to you because I think you know someone that I know. I said, who? She goes, Tom Miller. And immediately in my head, I went back to high school, and there was this kid who was a year younger than I was. Didn't talk to him hardly ever. All I remembered about Tom was that he had this black leather jacket he wore almost every day. Hair spiked straight up in the front. And I had these glasses that magnified his eyes ×4. And I was looking at Annie, and I realized she was wearing very similar glasses. I was like, Annie, are you and Tom related? She goes, yeah. I said, is Tom your brother? She goes, Then you can just tell that this girl loves her brother. I'm like, yeah, I remember Tom. That's cool, great how's he doing? What's going on? And she's like, he's gonna be so excited that I talked to you today. You know, my brother Tom, he talks about you all the time. And I was like, what? Honestly, Tom and I talked 3 times in high school. So the idea that he was talking about me years later, I was like, this is creepy, tell me why. She goes, yeah, he talks about, in fact, the thing he talks about most is this one day, I don't know, maybe you remember it too, it was at the end of lunch, Tom, my brother was having a really bad day, and you must have noticed, and you guys didn't have lunch together or anything like that, but at the end of lunch, you must have noticed him because you walked over and started talking to him. And the bell rang, it was time to go to class, and your class is over here, and his class is over there, but you walked with him towards his class, and you guys just talked for a couple of minutes, and at the end, Tom said he was crying and he was really embarrassed, but you put your arm around him and you gave him a hug, and he said, "Hey, I just want to remind you that you're loved, buddy." And my brother Tom, he talks about that all the time, and I just wanted to know if you remembered it too. Do you? And I'm like, oh no. I start sifting through the file cabinets in my brain, like, I gotta come up with this moment. And it's frustrating because it obviously happened, but I don't remember it. My job is motivational speaking, I guess, but sometimes I have really unmotivational thoughts. You ever have those? Yeah, like recently I was thinking, we live really forgettable lives. You know what I mean? And all I mean by that is this. We forget about most of the stuff that we do or say.
Yep.
Isn't that weird? And it's not like, it's like not one of those like, you had to be there things. It's like, no, I was there, I just don't remember what happened. Because there's only so much we can contain up here. And I think by the time that you and I die, we might hang on to 1%. Really, of all the stuff that we do or say, probably 1% of 1%. Now, I don't know what's in your 1%, but for me, the things that I remember most vividly in my life are moments where I was made to feel something. Right? Moments where I was made to feel important or belonging or empowered or loved. I remember those people, I remember those moments, and the opposite is just as true. Moments in my life where I was made to feel hurt or unworthy. I remember those people, I remember those moments. I wish I remembered more. Like, especially like being a little kid. I wish I remembered more of being a little kid. You ever find a picture of yourself as a kid and be like, man, I look awesome. What was I doing back then? You know what I mean? I only have a few very vivid memories of being a really little kid. For example, I was born in Maine, moved to Washington when I was 4. And every summer we'd go back to visit my grandma in Maine. I love visiting my grandma, but just down the road from my grandma's house, my parents had 2 best friends, Rick and Martha Griffin. And they owned this really small hotel in this really small town. And I would go visit my grandma, but the best part was my parents, because it was a safe town and they knew these people, they would let me go by myself. Even when I was like 5 or 6 years old, like to walk down by myself to the hotel and hang out with Rick and I could walk around to the different rooms. It felt like a castle to me at that age. And they had a restaurant. I could order Shirley Temples like 9 a.m., live the dream. And the best part was that Rick and Martha had 2 daughters, Alexis and Lydia. They were 10 years older than me. And I thought I had a chance. So I would go over in my nicest pajamas, and I would stand in their they lived at the hotel that they owned. And I would stand in their living room and I would tell really bad jokes that I looked up on the internet the night before. And they would patiently listen and pretend to laugh. And at the end, Rick would walk out with a big cup of hot cocoa with whipped cream on top, and would walk me back to my grandma's house. And we're here talking about leadership. So I think it's only appropriate to talk about my friend Rick. I think you'd like him a lot. If you could picture him for a second, he's like 6'3", piercing blue eyes, perfectly coiffed white hair. I think he invented the word coiffed. Got out of the shower one day, blew dry his hair, he's like, this is coiffed. And everyone's like, I agree. He's like, what are you doing in my bathroom? It's very weird. Rick, if you picture him, he's the kind of person, no matter where he goes, everyone knows Rick because he's involved in 1,000 different things. Board of the Chamber of Commerce, president of local Rotary Club at one point, vice president of local senior center, vice president of local library, fundraising committees for arts and education, was a hotel owner, business owner for a long time. The guy's involved in 1,000 different things. And someone I've always looked up to as a leader, business person, but most importantly just as a person, human being. Which is why it was hard 4 years ago. He was diagnosed with a really aggressive form of brain cancer called glioblastoma. And I hadn't seen Rick for a long time, but a few years ago I got to go visit him. They'd sold the hotel and now they owned this beautiful house, big red door out front. It was around the holiday season, and my wife, at the time my fiance and I, walked up to the door, and Martha, Rick's wife, was standing outside. They had just returned from the doctor's office, and they hadn't gotten good news. The doctor told Rick that he had about 3 months. 100 days left to live. And here we are showing up. I haven't seen Rick in years. I sat down and Rick gave me a pretty amazing gift that day. For 2 hours, Rick just asked me questions. Here's a guy with 100 days left to live. And all he wants to do is know about how I'm doing. I think it's a really underrated gift of great leaders. People who are really good at listening. Rick, I don't know when he figured it out, but I think at some point he figured out that it is way more important to be interested in people than to be an interesting person. Rick was never worried about being interesting. He just worked on being really interested in other people, and he always made you feel like the most important person in the room. That day is definitely in my 1%. We talked about all kinds of things. The last time I got to see him. 3 months later, the world lost a really amazing guy. Week after he passed, they had a celebration of life. The place that they had, it was overflowing with people, spilling out the back. And one by one, people got up on stage and they talked about all the things that Rick did in this community. Right, all the positions that he held, all his titles of leadership and the roles that he played. One by one, brought up all these stories. Until finally, the last two people that got up were his two daughters, Alexis and Lydia. And they told a really simple and short story about how they both moved out of the house 8 years before their dad passed away. And how every single day since the day they moved out, rain or shine, their birthday, a random Tuesday, in the mail, they got a postcard from their dad. If you're counting, it's over 3,000 postcards each. Over 6,000 postcards in total. I guess sometimes the postcards were long. Words of wisdom or words of encouragement from their dad. Sometimes I guess they were much shorter, just like, pick up your phone when I call you. 6,000 postcards. I found it important that Alexis and Lydia didn't bring up the many newspaper clippings that they had about their dad. They didn't bring up his trophies, his awards. They didn't bring up his resume. They didn't add up his community service hours and put them up on display. They brought up this big box of postcards. I think if I'm doing my job right as a leader, then I'm going to keep asking myself that question: what is love, and how do I get better at giving it to people to make this world just a little bit better place? And sometimes I think if you're listening, if you're paying attention, there's people in the world who try to tell you. Remember sitting there that day thinking to myself, that's what love is. Big box of postcards. A box filled with something that Rick did every single day. In some small way to remind someone in his life that they were worthy of love. Now, a simple question: do you think Rick always had time to write a postcard? No, successful business owner. But Rick made time because it was important. Do you think Rick always felt like it? Probably not. My question would be this: how many things do we spend 5 minutes on a day? And the follow-up question would be, can we devote 5 minutes of our day to the practice of love? What does that look like for you? I don't know. Maybe for you it requires you to have a phone reminder. Maybe for you it's a stack of postcards on your desk. Maybe for you it's just getting in a routine or a habit that every day at this time I'm going to do this thing. Love looks like so many things, but I think one of the most important things love looks like is consistency. It's practice. It's doing something over and over and over again, even when we don't feel like it, to prove that we care. To prove that love and making this world a better place is important to us. I had to tell Annie, I said, Annie, I'm really sorry, I don't remember that day with Tom. At first she was really disappointed. She goes, oh, that's okay. I said, Annie, but I have to know, like, why does Tom remember? I was 7 years old. Why does your brother Tom remember that day out of all the days of high school? She looks at me, she goes, you didn't know my brother that well, didn't you? I said, honestly, Annie, no. She goes, well, he's my best friend. Most important person in my life, and my brother Tom, he loves people, but he's not very good with them. He's a little bit awkward, and ever since he's been in elementary school, people used to make fun of him because he was awkward. They They used to laugh at him a lot in middle school. They laughed at him even more. By the time he got to high school, it was the worst of all. They started to ignore him. People wouldn't even talk to him because they thought he was weird or uncomfortable. Starting in 9th grade, my brother Tom, I could tell he was struggling. I did my best to try to make him feel good, and I would talk to him every single day when he got home. But Houston, it happened 9th grade year, 10th grade year, even more invisible. 11th, by the time he was a junior, Houston, my brother would come home. He wouldn't talk to me anymore. He wouldn't talk to my parents. He'd go right to his room, and I was getting really scared. I was really nervous. I didn't know what to do. Houston, I totally understand why you wouldn't remember that day. But I think you need to know that my brother Tom will never forget it. It was the first time in a long time that someone besides his family reminded him that he was worthy of love. Thank you. She gives me a big squeezy hug. Puts my arm down by my side. And then she takes off to go to class. And I'm left standing alone in the gym. My gym. The gym that I spent a long time trying to do a lot of big things in. And it occurred to me that probably the biggest thing that I did in high school happened in a moment that I don't even remember. Happened in a 5-minute moment of kindness. Find that person of yours, your partner, your friend to friend, side to side, back to back. Friend to friend. Leave each other just a couple of stretches. It can be a lead or follow situation. Mirror for each other, but just to stretch it out for a moment. Okay, and with that partner of yours, very quick, you stay with them and talk about someone in your life who's made you feel really loved and why they're important to you. Share with your partner. Somebody that has been really made you feel loved and why they're important to you. Acting on it, and why do you think that is? Friend to friend, share with your person. back to back, one final time. Final time. Hands down by your side, shoulders down and back. Deep breath with your nose. Not your mouth. We're going to end where we began. This time I'm going to have you turn and go front to front in just a moment. And you're going to make eye contact again with the person across from you. But this time I'm going to ask you, I'm going to continue to ask you a series of questions. But I don't want you to answer with words. All I want you to do is just answer by nodding your head yes if it's true about you, or nodding your head no if it's not. So same thing, to the best of your ability, maybe this time don't get so try to not be distracted by other thoughts or outside things or worrying about what they're thinking about you. Just try to be present and focused on the person across from you. And when I ask you a question, just nod your head yes if it's true about you, or no if it's not. Front to front. No words. Not sure if you love to sing. Not sure if you love to dance. If you love to read. If you love to draw. Not sure if your favorite subject in school is math. Science. History. English. Lunch. Not good if you were the oldest sibling in your family. Youngest? Middle? Only? Not good if you ever wished you had a better relationship with your family. Not good if you've moved multiple times in your life. Not good if your parents speak a language other than English at home. Not sure if you ever felt like you lost a friend because they've changed in some way. Not sure if you ever felt deeply proud of something you accomplished. Not sure if you've ever felt exhausted. Not sure if you ever felt lonely. Not sure if you've ever been laughed at for something that you can't control. Not sure if you or someone close to you has ever struggled with depression or anxiety. Not sure if you've ever felt confused. Not sure if you or someone close to you has a physical or mental disability. Not sure if you ever struggle with low self-confidence or self-esteem. Not sure if there's someone in your family right now who is sick and it scares you. Not sure if you've lost something or someone important to you. Not sure if you miss someone right now. Nod your head if you think in the future you will stop and help people in the airport. Nod your head if you think you can make this world a little bit better. Nod your head if you cried in the past week. Nod your head if you consider yourself an ugly crier. I'm joking. Nod your head if you ever laughed so hard that you cried. Laughed so hard that you peed a little bit. Nod your head if you have something in common with the person across from you. Stay with this person for just a moment. 2 hours, 3,000 people, not one person stopped. I'll never forget what Helga said to me next. She looked over at me and she said, Houston, you know what I realized in the airport that day? That kindness isn't normal. That it's not normal in our world to be kind. I think our job as leaders is to make normal better. To make it a little bit more normal to be kind, compassionate, loving, not because we say so, but because we live it. If I were to add a fourth or a fifth 5H. Head, heart, hands, health, human. I think we have a lot of work to do to humanize each other. I really believe that many of you, and the few people I've had a chance to talk to, are driven and smart and capable. You're going to drive a lot of places, you're going to accomplish a lot of goals. But please don't forget that most of your life happens in between the dots on your to-do list. That most of your life happens in that 99%. Those small, forgettable daily moments. Choose to make those moments unforgettable for other people. In between all the madness and the goal setting, in the fast-paced gauntlet of life, write a postcard. Do some small thing daily in love, and maybe we can make kindness a little bit more normal. Thank you all for listening. You've been awesome. I just want to show you something real quick. It's not that. So, if you have phones on you, take them out if you can. Real quick, one of my biggest pet peeves about going places and saying words is sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I feel like really inspired and happy or motivated or whatever, and then you don't know what to do with it. So here's one goal for you if you are interested. You can take a picture, you can plug this into your phone right now, HoustonCraft.com/conference. If you go there and put in your first name, your last name, and your email, my promise to you is this: over the next month, I'll send you 7 emails with a story to hopefully reinvigorate the inspiration, and B, a workout plan for your heart. So I'm going to give you tangible ideas on how to exercise love in some way in your life. Cool? Cool. So a good way to keep you reminded. Part 2. HoustonCraft.com/conference. Part 2, if you want to follow me in person, please don't. If you want to follow me online, at HoustonCraft, I'm on Snapface, I'm on GoTweet, I'm on Instagram. HoustonCraft. I'd love to hear from you there. And I'll be hanging out in the back for a little bit, for a while today, and I'll have some shirts, they say, make kindness normal on them. I'm wearing one. They're $20 there. Just come back and feel them. They're really soft, and they're hand printed by a kid who saw me speak 5 years ago in Iowa, and so it's cool to support him. Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Houston, for coming and spending some time with us. Again, Houston will be in the back. You can check out his shirt and pick one up. Give him one last round of applause.
Now that everyone is inspired, it's time to get energized. So can we have our volunteers come on stage for an exciting relay race? On stage one, what I can do.
You gotta get it in place.
Alright, so for those of you in the audience, we're gonna kind of assign you teams. So the relays are different teams. So there's team 1, which going to be from this side over. You can see like where the camera is over. Your team 1, and this side over. Your team 3. Exactly. So you want to know what the prize is for the winning team? It's something really exciting. It's called Bragging Rights. You'll talk about how you guys won this relay for the rest of the weekend. So to start the relay, we're going to have 2 wheelbarrow race from the back line and take to the front. Then we'll have the next group who will grab their partner until they're completely run in toilet paper up to the state ambassador's statement, so you have to be clear before you go. And then the mummy will then tag the next person who will have to knock down these 2 water bottles with only the head contraption made from pantyhose and an apple. They have to put it on their head. And then finally, the last person will be tagged, and they will have to pop 4 balloons that we will throw at them, only by sitting on them. The first team to finish wins. So make sure to cheer for your team, stand up and get loud and energized. Alright, are you ready?
Today we have a lot of interesting education sessions planned for you, starting at 1:15, and you may attend any session you'd like to. When you see a full sign on the door, that means the session is full. And we ask that you please attend a different one, and don't worry, there are plenty to choose from. If you're lost or need help finding an available session, please go to Education Headquarters located in Wellman Hall, room 109.
I repeat, Wellman Hall 109. Also, County All-Stars have an exclusive session planned for you this afternoon during sessions B and C. You have to attend both sessions and you'll be happy that you did. Brandon White is our All-Star session speaker. Participants will learn how to take ownership of their identity, interests, and impairments. The workshop starts with a personality assessment in order to discover your leadership style, and then the ideas are applied in a group swing dance lesson where participants accomplish goals as a team and overcome challenges. Also, me and Riley will be there along with Kyle, so
Ambassadors have been putting together some great workshops, and you may want to consider a workshop on goal setting that was offered in either Session A or B with State Masters Olivia and Bethany. This workshop will explore the stages of goal setting, how to create a step-by-step plan of action, and how to adapt to unexpected circumstances. It provides strategies for hitting goals and reaching them, both inside and outside the 4-H program.
Another great workshop is Digital Health, offered during Session C. It will be led by State Ambassadors Aubrey, Gabriella, and Demi. You'll learn about how to communicate using technology, from connecting with friends on social media to emailing Ross.
Join Sarah, Albert, and Jordan on the time management workshop offered during Session C. You will learn how to manage your time, work with State Masters to prioritize what's most important to you.
Are you frustrated with one of the adults in your club? This is the workshop for you. Come learn with Jackie and Trent. Be a youth adult partnership hero and make your voice heard.
If you enjoyed our 4-H alumni event board last night, come join her this afternoon to help with your career plan. During Session A, participants will learn best practices to explore careers and target a specific goal to stay on track with career goals and drive a successful career plan.
We hope you enjoyed the amazing sessions that have been planned by all the workshop presenters and can share these life skills with your clubs back home. And since it's our last night together at SLC, what a better way to celebrate than by having a dance. After dinner, please head back to the dorms and get dressed for the dance in your 4-H appropriate dance wear. The dance will be located right here in the Assembly Hall from 7 to 10 p.m. So bring anything you think you might need, as we won't be heading back to the dorms until after the dance is over at 10 o'clock.
And our favorite DJ High Top will be here. Can I get a woo-hoo? Some final announcements and reminders. Education Headquarters is located in Wellman Hall, room 109. Please wear your name tag at all times during the conference. Remember to drink water throughout the day, it's going to be hot. PA meetings are happening after this from 11 to 12, and then lunch from 12 to 1. And Houston's in the back if you want to chat with him or buy a shirt.
Thank you guys for being such a great audience for us this morning, so go enjoy your sessions. Head over to your PA meeting when we call out your